Flint Gennari here for WFAF. I'm making a trip to the city today to interview my friend, the photographer MattWeber. Right now I'm in the Forgotten Borough, Staten Island, so it takes about an hour and a half with the bus and the train and the ferry and the bus or whatever you got to do to get to Manhattan, even though it's so close. I've known him for 30, 40 years, and I finally get to spend some time with him and find out what he's all about. It's incredible.
Oh no, I know it is. You know, I only try to collect the best photo that everyone's taking because why not? You know, Liberty Oil. I paid a lot for that, but I had to have it. Statue of Liberty on an old 1930s gasoline globe, and of course Manhattan comes from Kansas because there's a town called Manhattan, Kansas. Yeah. It has nothing to do with New York City.
Cool.
I know you've already photographed the Bulldog, the Mac Bulldog over there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course all these rare books. Jim Carroll's first little zine. It was on mimeograph, like 100 copies. I love Jim Carroll.
And this is a book of yours?
That's the one I want to do.
This
is a booklet.
Oh, your next one?
Yeah, I'd love to do that. I have so many subway shots. They're all from 2003 on. So there's the only graffiti is that scratchiti and that acid etching on the windows. Not really much regular ink.
I cannot believe this.
That's Ken Kesey's LP from 1966. They only made 500 copies.
No kidding.
Music by the Warlocks. The Warlocks later became the Grateful Dead. So it's like a really early piece of counterculture, which I love. And of course Timothy Leary on that other album.
That's crazy.
Or like a really rare Tarantula by Bob Dylan. That's like I just gotta have a weird thing. Love Walker Evans. So that book by Crime of Cuba.
I don't have that one.
Well, I love Walker Evans. So
I had quite an extensive photography collection.
Well, I'm sure you do. And here have all the Winogrand stuff. You know, like I said, this was Todd Oldham, the designer, designed this for me, and it's just a small look at what I could do one day, maybe, you know, if I get lucky. It's all black and white. Since then I've taken a lot of color photos, you know, but it's just you know, it's the Subterraneans. I stole the name from Jack Kerouac. I hope to publish it sooner than later, as sort of time seems to be running out a little bit, you know, my body's sort of shutting down.
Well, that's the problem.
Yeah, we don't want to wait till we're gone because then someone else will decide what to do with it, and they'll make the money if there's any money to be made. This was as the second building was just getting ready to collapse, and I was riding my bicycle downtown, so I caught this little family scene, a little boy, and the mother looks like she's dealing with diapers or something. I have a New Era hat that was never made, so it's a prototype of all my little photos from Coney Island.
No kidding.
Yeah, but it's the only one in existence, you know. So some hat collector probably would pay a good price for it because they only made one as a, you know, a demo prototype. Yeah, they made some good shirts. New York did, you know, a Times Square shirt with a collage, this Coney Island collage. I was really happy to work with this kid. That's Shell Super Ethyl, like the equivalent of Premium back in 1930. That's dated August 1930 on the inside.
No kidding.
It's completely mint, and I love that one. It's just so Art Deco, and totally love it, you know. Then,
oh, you got this guy's picture too.
Oh yeah.
That was a great shot.
No, I know. You know, I only try to collect the best. When I was a kid, baseball was very important, you know. I thought I could be the next center fielder for the New York Yankees until in 1971. I played Little League, but I played Pony League. So I was 13 playing with 15-year-olds, and of course I was the worst player on the whole team. And that was like, oh wow, I'm not going to be a baseball player, you know what I mean? Because every kid on the team was better than me. I had to accept the fact that baseball wasn't part of my destiny. Then I saw the movie Easy Rider, and I wanted to be like Peter Fonda. But you can see I ended up doing 12 years in a taxi cab, so of course I love that one right there, right? I mean, this was amazing, you know? And the Beatles, everything in my life is, you know, basically available for being disseminated by the books I collected, Home to Harlem, and then all the street photography stuff. Oh, got a good one here in the kitchen. Come with me. Since, like literally my entire life, go to the end and photograph the button collection. Get some close-ups. Because that button collection, the dragon, my girlfriend painted for me for my 18th birthday, that dragon. And since 1976, I've been filling that. And if you look at it, I mean, a lot of these buttons go back to the Vietnam War protests that I attended with my mother. That is, my whole life is like, I mean, the first Star Wars, May the Force Be With You, Led Zeppelin buttons. I mean, the whole world is in this thing. I mean, there's so many. IS-44 button when I was in junior high school. Yeah, that's my whole life basically through current, to the current days of just The Third Wave by Alvin Toffler, because I knew his daughter Karen very well. Michael Jackson's. I mean, this is just everything. Boom, my whole life. And this one, by the way, hold on. I mean, if you're looking at my button collection and you don't notice, this is the most incredible button right there. That's from I Had a Dream speech in 1963, and that's the original button that my mother bought that day in 1963, and that's really valuable. I mean, that's historical and precious to me. Underneath the laundry, you can see the World's Fair sign from 1964, but also that precious Coney Island sign, the original one, in almost perfect condition.
I used to go there all the time to tag up.
Well, of course you did. So yeah, no.
So you bought these signs? Or
Yes, no, I bought a lot of them and I nabbed some too.
Yeah.
Like, once you, that one I paid for, but look, that Interborough sign there, we took that off in '85. They were still out there,
Yeah.
Oh, and this one was in Williamsburg. Look at this. The condition of that one.
Yeah.
I mean, mint condition. Almost nothing, like one tiny little chip. This belongs in a museum.
Yeah.
The Museum of New York didn't understand how good my stuff was. They just didn't. The kid is good at photography, but I don't think he understood how special these signs are.
Yeah, no, I
gotta
enjoy going back to Brooklyn where I live, and I go visit my friend Chopper, and we have all the signs we took down wherever we took it down. His house is like a museum too. Not as much as yours, but it is pretty much.
I would love to see some of his signs, yeah.
I mean, I myself have paperbacks from the 60s, like the one of the first editions of James Bond stuff. I had the whole series of James Bond.
Well,
it's great.
Being a counterculture guy, this was from 1953, and what a cover.
Look at that.
That's a sought after book, 1953. Gosh, time flies.
Look at that. Is that one of your photos on your shirt?
Oh, it is. Yeah, 1987, when they still had the original cables were still dangling from before they renovated the parachute jump, which is now like a kaleidoscope of colors. It's incredible. But back then it was just laying dormant.
Well, you are just a wealth of information. But being a photographer, that's the whole
hardcover. Joseph DiMaggio. Where have you gone, Joe DiMaggio?
That's the whole story.
Here's the first edition of the British edition of On the Road. What a beautiful cover. It's not worth nearly as much as the bland American version, but it's an incredible looking cover. That's supposed to be Kerouac, and I guess that's Allen Ginsberg. And 1958, the year I was born. Beautiful book. Yeah, I mean, well, while we're at it, I mean, there was a Dutch photographer, and Sweet Life. What a big giant book that is, from 1965, I think. But look at it, god damn, it's just a serious book. Well, these are different people. Obviously, the Stay High is important. The American flag and the fist together. So I actually commissioned that, and he sold it to me for a ridiculously low price. But that should be on T-shirts, don't you think?
I think so.
Yeah, it's great. That's the only oil painting that survived that I did of my Malta.
That looks great.
Yeah, that's from 1974 when I was at Music and Art. And that's a Philadelphia guy, Michael Penn. That was my grandmother's camera, and of course I inherited it. I started using it in 70, 71, maybe even in 69. I probably shot like 20 rolls of film, like any kid. It was just a hobby. Regretfully, a hobby that I put down for almost 13 years or 12 years. But yeah, I mean, we did 8mm movies. I took photos. I have a photo of myself when I'm like 12 years old with the camera on Broadway. It was good that we did it, but I just wish I had done more. That's all. I mean, time just flies by, and I really wish I'd photographed the 70s, because I was a young kid watching crazy stuff happen every day. But at one point I couldn't hold back any longer, because I'd seen so many unbelievable things in the late 70s out of my taxi window. Actually people I saw a guy get killed with baseball bats. I saw a woman kidnapped and thrown into a van in Alphabet City, and the guy showed me his gun. So there were no payphones, no cell phones, and they got away with it, of course. I just have ancient memories of violence on the street. I saw a cop take a black kid's head and smash it into the hood of the car over and over again, just for the hell of it. The kid hadn't even done anything. He said, "Come here." He just started smashing his head face down into the hood of his car. And yeah, the city was violent and dangerous, and I didn't use a camera, so nothing I can do about it, you know. And then I started in 1984 to seriously try to become a photographer. And in 1988, I quit doing drugs, and that was important because I was making a few mistakes. I wanted to be sharper and clearer, you know. I was just smoking a lot of weed. I could drive like I was the best driver I ever met, so weed didn't stop me from driving. I was perfect. But it did like sort of make it with, oh man, I'm still on 1.4 in the bright sun, or I'm still on F16 late at night. I would make, oh man, I just kept making stupid errors. And I said, you know what, I just gotta stop smoking. And then my work got better because I made less mistakes, you know. So yeah, that's it. I pretty much in New York City kept on seeing things. Oh my God, what happened to that store? It's gone. Oh, what happened to that building? It's gone. All the bowling alleys, they're gone. Everything was just gone all of a sudden. And I wanted to photograph things while they were still there, you know. So luckily, I had a good eye. Even if I wasn't a great photographer, I knew what it was I wanted to photograph. And that helps a lot, you know. There was nothing confusing about what I wanted. When I saw it, I took it and I took pictures of it. Sometimes they came out great. About 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I had a notebook full of color negatives that I'd never done anything with. And I figured I should scan them and maybe I'll find 30 or 40 good images, all from 1985. And when I was finished with the project, I had 495 scans that were worth scanning. So I have 495 color photos from 1985 of Harlem and Times Square and the rest of the city. And a friend of mine who published my first book says we should do a second book, just 1985 color, because that was an incredible trove of images that I didn't realize I even had. You know, because I just did all my black and white printing, and I forgot all about the first year when I was shooting 200 gold, like that crappy film, the 200 gold Kodak. But the images were just one after another. I was like, wow, I really knew what I wanted to photograph. That's really important is what, you know. How is important, but if what is boring, then you can only do so much with how. But if you know what you want to photograph and it's interesting, then, you know, the where is very important, I'm saying, or the where or the what is very important. That's what they always talk about, where, what, and how, which I think is kind of a silly debate, but people get into that, you know. So I knew what I wanted, and as time went on, I obviously became more competent with the technical factors. Yeah, that's about it. You know, it was like I drove around in my taxi and saw so many wild things. I kept saying, if only I had a camera. You can only repeat that so many times until you finally have to buy one, you know. People having sex in Alphabet City on top of a car in broad daylight, stuff like that. You're like, what the, you just don't have a camera, you feel silly. The old lady with the dog stops and is looking at the punkers that are having sex, and she's looking at like, she's never seen anything like it herself, and it's like a once-in-a-lifetime shot that I can only describe because I didn't have a camera. But of course, in December of '84, I went to Competitive Camera right across from Madison Square Garden. You probably know the store. It's been $149 for an 81 and another $99 for a 1.450. And that was the best $250 I ever spent, you know? I mean, I took a lot of my greatest shots with that 50mm lens. It was wonderful, you know? And then all of a sudden, driving a cab wasn't quite so tedious because I was looking for things. Even when I didn't care about the $3, I was looking. And fortunately, I was a good enough driver that even with my eyes looking everywhere, I could still not get into an accident. And I just kept on combing the streets for things I wanted to photograph. And it was great. And other cab drivers have done things too, like Joseph Rodriguez did that in the same era, and there was a guy who did turned the back of his checker into a studio and photographed all the people in his car. He didn't photograph the outside; he photographed inside his checker, and that's quite a good book too. So you know, and yeah, it was just an amazing time in New York City. But it's getting a little bit more violent during this pandemic. New York is starting to get a little more violent. The police, you know, are picking up a lot. I mean, there's a lot of stuff starting to happen, which is not good. But you know, even the homeless population might be worse today than it was then because the rents are so high you can't pay the rent. You're homeless. It's just simple things. 1, 2, you know. They evict you and now you're homeless, you know. So it really sucks. And I don't know how much worse it's going to get before it gets better, but we'll find out.